Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. In our last tutorial, we had seen how to allocate the grid system into the container that we had created into our site, into our project so far. In this tutorial, we will now observe how to segregate the row inside the grid into some definite number of columns. So let's hop in. Now if we head back to our tutorial, we can see that this is the part up to which we had advanced into our project. Now in this part, first of all, we need to create another container here, and then we will be creating the UI grid system. Now in this matter, I would like to say that the first thing is we are just mentioning the class names here first of all, and then we are hitting enter so that we may turn on each and individual tags. Those are required in this particular case. As we had done right over here, we had typed in first of all this UI grid. Let's do it from the very beginning. This is the UI class and this is the grid class, and then we are hitting enter to use both these classes with a block element or with a div element into our project. Now that we have created this grid here, in the next case we will be creating the row, and then we will be creating the columns inside. But the first thing we need to do, we need to look over here. As we had said that we are going to set the number of columns per row. So what is the thing that we could done here? Here comes the question. UI Semantic uses a very special class in this purpose in an order to break down your row into some definite number of columns. And for say we want to segregate this individual row into 3 columns. So that is why we will be mentioning here this 3 class, and then we will be mentioning here this column class. So what we are seeing right over here, we are practically using a grid system which will be divided into 3 equal columns into our project. So what should be the output? Let's head back to the row that we have created right now, and all we are going to do first, we will be creating our first column. There it goes. So this is the column 1, and here we are creating a button, and in this button we will be as usual creating this class here. There it goes, and we'll be naming it as button 1, or you may name it as 1 whatever you wish. So I'll be naming it as 1 and now I'll be creating, in the next case I'll be creating another column, and this is going to be the second column of this individual row that we have created, and here I'll be naming it as 1 2. In the similar manner I'll be copying it, and I will be creating another third one. It is known as 1 3. So I have created 3 individual columns right over here, and I have inserted some buttons here which I named sequentially. There it goes. Now if we press Ctrl S, first of all let's observe the output. What is the output in this particular case? Let's head back to our project and reload, and we can see that 3 columns are being produced into our project. We can see it right over here. Now for say I am creating another column here, and I'll be naming it as 4 4. Hit Ctrl S, head back to our project and reload, and you can see that this 4th button or this 4th column element, it practically descends down out of the row. So why is it happening? This is due to the fact we have already specified the number of columns in each individual rows in the very first place while declaring the grid and that is why currently this row, it is accepting 3 different columns right over here. It is not even allowing this 4th column to take place into our row element that we have created. So that is why this 4th element here, this 4th column, it is forming into a new row and it practically descends down into the bottom. If we head back to our project, this is the total available space of the viewport, and here all this space is practically been equally divided to construct 3 individual columns into that particular row. The total available space which is allotted to this individual row, that space is practically subdivided to form into 3 individual columns into this particular row, and that is why there is no 4th column is getting scope into that first row that we had created, and that is why the last element of the last column, it is practically descending down, forming into a new row. So instead of this 3 column, if we now create here this 4th column, so we are now dividing this whole available space within this container into this individual row into 4 equal spaced grid system. If we now press Ctrl S right over here, and now if we get back to our project and reload, and now we can see that this individual 4th column or this 4th element which has been created right over here, now it is getting back to its prior position, forming into the same row which was created in this purpose. So the point is, each and individual space which has been allotted to this individual row is now practically getting divided into 4 equal columns, as we had specified that 4 columns will be taking place, will be granted into this individual grid, but beyond that no additional columns will be occupying this row that we had created right over here. So if we copy and if we create another column right over here, naming it as 1.5, and now if we hit reload, we can see that this 5th column, it is already descending down, forming into a new row just beyond the first row that we had created. So the point is, each and individual rows that we have created right over here will be now forming into 4 columns into our grid. So the whole grid is now practically occupied with 4 columns as been specified right over here.